What's up everyone, Palkia82 here to bring you my thoughts on Bleach chapter 571. Now this is my first ever chapter, so I might make some mistakes, just give me some slack. So the chapter starts off with Isane looking surprised. Obviously we left off from where the stern ritter V, Gwenhel, he vanished his existence, so neither Yachiru or Isane actually knows what's going on at the moment. So yeah, Isane is pretty panicked, and Yachiru's nose is bleeding, and so I thought it's quite interesting that Kubo's put this in here. It's like a really ridiculous technique where the actual stern ritter, he vanishes from existence, and he's able to become invisible, and then also go out of the consciousness of his enemy's mind. So it's a really interesting technique. It could actually be hacked if used properly, but later on we see the limitations of this technique pretty much. So yeah, Yachiru's all confused. I think he looks really creepy, Gwenhel. He's like a short guy with 3 points of his hair, and he's got this mad scientist suit going on, and his face is really creepy. So yeah, we there's a point where it just zooms into his face every time, and he's got these hexagonal glasses. It looks pretty damn creepy. I like the way Kubo generally just most chapters, when he puts in the title page for every chapter, he has this cinematic view, and yeah, it's really enjoyable just reading through it page by page, because he knows how to get his paneling so that you get hyped up for the next couple of pages. And I like the art here where it's just Gwenhel's eyes just isolated and they look really damn creepy just on their own. So yeah, Bleach, a devilish perspective. Oh well, I can understand why he titled it that now, since regarding the end of the chapter where we get to see Yachiru's actual powers. So yeah, it's kind of repetitive in this chapter, because it's like a game where Isane and Yachiru are trying to figure out what's going on, and they have to land hits on him, but he's constantly vanishing. So yeah, it's really difficult for them to actually do anything to him, because he explains that his power has pretty much two initial sub power things, where his first version is just losing his shape, so they can't physically see him anymore. That's him going invisible. And his second version is his existence vanishes, so no one knows that he's there pretty much. So he's not actually physically there anymore. But it's not just that he's invisible, he's just completely gone from existence. So that is actually quite a ridiculous power. I like the art here where it's just grey and kind of flowy. It's it kind of makes it feel like he's in a different realm or something, but that isn't explained where he actually goes, because he basically just vanishes from existence. So then we get to see that he can basically just land any hits, because he can't do both at the same time, I'm not sure, but he can change from one version of his power to the next. That is a drawback though, because as we see later on in the chapter, Yachiru pretty much figures out that she has to she has to just keep on hitting him, in the sense that when he vanishes and when he comes back, she'll go for him even just on instinct. So that is a drawback of his power. He can't do all three versions at the same time, which would be really hacked. So it's good that Kubo balanced out his power in this way, where he has to keep switching from one version of his power to the next. Now the third version, removing his existence from people's consciousness, that's probably the most scary power, his version of his power, because they don't even know who they're fighting anymore. They don't know. They know that they've been hit, but they don't know by who or what. So yeah, that's pretty difficult for Yachiru and Isane to deal with at first. But we see Ichiro actually overcoming this because we get that Isane like questions like why she's just going for the enemy even though she doesn't know who he is anymore. And so that's I think that's just attributed to how Yachiru fights pretty much, because she just goes for the enemy on her instincts. Like she explains, like she felt this rustle, and you know Kenshan Kenpachi, when he feels this rustle, he goes for he just uses instinct and attacks, because she says that it's cold and it's warm at the same time, and it's just something that's there to, it's like a hindrance to her when she feels that rustle. So yeah, she just goes for it. She just attacks, and then there's this funny moment where Gwen Hale's like questioning why she's doing that, and he's getting really annoyed because his vanishing powers aren't really like working, in the sense that Richiru is just striking as soon as she sees him. So he's questioning that, and in his interior monologue. Oh, and one thing I also liked. He explains his powers, but to himself, because he's vanished. So it's not like how we usually get, where the villains are being stupid and explaining their powers to the protagonists just like that. It's actually smart, because he's doing it in an interior monologue. I'm not sure why he would be doing it at this moment, but he's self-assuring himself of his powers, that he'll definitely get to defeat both of these two. So he's going over his powers, and that's better for us as readers, because we don't get to see, you know, like the characters figuring out the problems with the you know, the opposing side's powers, because like it's really dumb when that happens. Yeah, for example, when Rose explained his powers to Mask, and then Mask just, you know, pops his eardrums, so it won't work anymore. Yeah, I like it this way, where it's just an interior monologue, and it's much better reading, and you know, it makes the story more interesting, that the characters have to try and figure it out rather than just know the other person's power and then try and find a weakness there. So I like that. And then so we get to see that Yachiru is actually managing to hit Gwen Hill, and he's really surprised, because he's like, your sword shouldn't be able to reach me. I should have vanished already. And you know, we see his nose bleeding. I like that. Just Kubo is going for the goriness now. Like the past couple of chapters, we're seeing like sort of creepy characters and with like astronaut and stuff, and now with also the gore. You know, he's not afraid to just leave the blood out and everything. I like that. And so we see Yachiru, you know, triumphant in being able to hit him, and you know, the hype moment now, because so far in this fight we've just been seeing Yachiru punching and punching and punching. He's kind of just standing there, giving like commentary. It wasn't that interesting in terms of combat. So I was wondering to myself, like, why is Yachiru not using her Zanpakuto? And then I guess it's understandable she would be fighting like this, seeing as the 11th Division, they do focus on like physical combat. That's what they're good at. So that's obviously how she would gauge her enemy, just using physical attacks. So she goes for the hits, and then that's not working out. So she realizes that she has to do something else to actually attack this enemy, because he's actually vanishing from existence. So she uses a Zanpakuto hype moment. It's called Sanpo Kenju. It's a decent name. I'm not sure what it means, but yeah, it's just awesome, because we see this last panel here, or the art's pretty nice, where we get the contrast of like the white one and the black one. This sort of like demonic looking thing. It kind of reminds me of a hollow, like the big black one, and then the other one is sort of like a white puffball thing. It kind of gives you an idea of what Yuchiru's personality is like, actually, because there's a contrast. So like we see like this white, puffy, small, little sort of like, well, it looks kind of adorable, like Yachiru's exterior, but then the interior, she's actually like a menacing fighter, because you know, she's with Kenpachi, and he's quite twisted in himself, the way he fights. So yeah, we get this like clash of her different traits, and then that's represented in the Zanpakuto. I quite like that, with like the white little puffball cutie thing, and then like the big menacing, scary, hollow looking thing as part of the Zanpakuto, and they're holding like these different sized blades. Yeah, it's just like a quite interesting, like Death Reaper-esque design. I like it, and it's just funny because she's, in the middle of like, and then one's behind her, one's in front of her. That's how the powers work, because one uses the sword from behind and one from the front. So her range of actual attacking is much stronger now, and so that's how she manages to just slice up. Well, we assume that she slices up Gwen Hell. We don't actually know if he's managed to vanish or not, but yeah, they just, all three of them swing the sword, and it manages to get him. So overall, I enjoyed this chapter. Art-wise, it was actually pretty nice. Certain parts where he vanishes, and we see like the dark parts, and then him coming through, and then also when he does the third version of his technique, I like that. It's like this weird, like ghastly sort of ghostly presence coming through. So, and then we get that they no longer think that he's existing anymore. So I like the art in some of the panels with Gwen Hale's actually vanishing himself, and also the final panel is really awesome with Yachiru just slicing with both of her parts of the Zanpakuto. It's pretty nice, and yeah, it was a pretty decent chapter. I like the pacing. It was alright. We got a decent amount from Isane, Yachiru, and Gwen Hale. All like, the dialogue wasn't too heavy, and yeah, just the action was pretty good. And overall, yeah, very good chapter. I'm really looking forward. I'm looking forward to pretty much every Bleach chapter nowadays. This arc is really exciting, and so we're generally just gonna get like a fight with the Stern Ritter and a Soul Reaper, Soul Eater. What am I saying? Soul Eater. We're gonna get a fight with a Shinigami and a Stern Ritter practically every chapter. So it's quite good that it's laid out like this. Sometimes Kubo does spend a bit more time on one Stern Ritter than another, probably focusing on who his opponent Shinigami is, just developing their powers. But for this chapter, I liked it. It was just like one quick, like, pretty much. I'm not expecting One Hill necessarily to be finished, but I'm thinking that Yachiru probably got him and split him in half, probably something like that. So yeah, that's my expectation for next week. And I'm not sure. I'm actually thinking we might go back to Renji, because we saw Narana, scouting him out. So we could go back to him, or maybe a different Stern Ritter fight altogether, or even something that we've seen, like a character Shinigami that we've seen before fighting, also, having to go against another Stern Ritter. Maybe even the Soul Palace, but I doubt Kubo would do that this early, so we'll probably have to wait a while until we get that. So yeah, this was my thoughts on Bleach Chapter 571, and I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.